U.S. history. Last night's crash has shocked and saddened people across the U.S., including here in the Northland. And as we've learned, several members of the U.S. figure skating community were on that plane last night, including members of one prominent club from Boston, very familiar to local figure skaters who are heartbroken over this news. Northern News Now's Isabella Zadra is in studio with us tonight with reaction from members of the Duluth Figure Skating Club. Isabella?
Yeah, Ryan, according to the Associated Press, of the 67 people aboard the plane last night, 14 people on board were a part of the figure skating community, 6 of whom were named and identified as being a part of the historic Skating Club of Boston. According to the CEO of the Skating Club of Boston, skaters Gina Hahn and Spencer Lane, along with their moms, were on board the plane and were killed in the crash. Coaches Ivana Shakova and Vidim Nomov were also on the plane. They were all coming back from a development camp in Wichita after the U.S. Championships wrapped up on Sunday. Leah Scudmore is the marketing chair for Duluth Figure Skating Club. She said the figure skating community nationwide is tight-knit. Skaters travel across the U.S. for different competitions and become friends with their fellow competitors. She confirmed Duluth members have competed closely with members of the Boston Club in the past. Scudmore said at this time the Duluth Club is being gentle with their skaters and coaches, giving them plenty of space and time to process the crash, saying those efforts are what it will take for the community to heal.
I think with any community, not just figure skating, when you go through something together, it makes you stronger.
Although Duluth and other clubs are in mourning, Scudmore made it clear this moment is not about them. It's time to send love, support, and helpful hearts for the members and families of the Boston Figure Skating Club. The U.S. Figure Skating Organization did release a statement today about how they are devastated by the tragedy and that they're holding victims and families closely in their hearts.
Thank you, Isabella. Tonight at 6 here on Northern News Now, we'll be hearing from the Superior Dive Team, getting their thoughts on the difficult recovery efforts still underway at the Potomac River. Let's turn now to the